Now, many whistleblowers continue to live in fear and some have left the country. For more discussion, I'm joined by Clarke, a counsellor for whistleblowers. He's here in studio with us. Mr. Clarke, thank you very much for your time here on eNCA, and thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Today, a year since Babita Deokaran was killed. Tomorrow, the people who are alleged to have killed her appearing in court, but also another whistleblower passing away, Fakey Mentor, today.
Yeah.
So quite a sad day for South Africa, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm reminded of what Shakespeare said. Sorrows come not single spies, but in battalions. Because I knew Fakey. In fact, she was the person that really woke me up out of my relative privilege and comfort zone when I met her 4 years ago and read a book and saw what an extraordinary path she had walked. And I befriended her, got alongside her, went to the Zondo Commission with her and that. So it really is quite extraordinary to think that these two things should happen today. But in our whistleblower support group, to pay tribute to her, Thabiso Zulu, whom I think a lot of people will have known, and you've interviewed him on eNCA, he just posted this. If I can quickly read it, it's just a short tribute. He says, "May her soul rest in peace. She gave me and my family unreserved emotional support during this time of my shooting when I just survived the rifle-wielding assassins. She will forever be in our hearts. No matter what came out of the Zondo Commission on her claims, but history will forever be kind to her for her courage and initiative which resulted to the appointment of the Zondo Commission. May she find peace in the life hereafter." So I think she's resting in peace in the knowledge that she obeyed her conscience and she died on the right side of history. And I think that's the same is true of Babita. So interesting how these two events converge. And you know, those with power can't retaliate against them. When people have died, they, in a sense, become like martyrs. They become figures for other people to emulate and aspire to. And you can't kill a martyr twice.
Yeah, yeah. Now, looking at what happened to Babita, she was murdered. She leaves behind her daughter. The daughter didn't necessarily have a relationship with her father and, lived only with her mother. Now her daughter doesn't have her mother as well. And you look a year on, yes, there's been arrests, but, there's talk of a mastermind who hasn't been arrested. And obviously after an arrest, we wait for a conviction, and that hasn't happened. So, that also dampens a little bit her memory, doesn't it?
It does, and it's so important as a social worker working with children that they get closure on tragic events and that they also are helped to understand that it wasn't their fault. And in the whistleblowers who have families, it's the first intervention I make. I say, how do we ensure that your children are understand what's happening? Interestingly, very few children would want to say, I wish they hadn't done it. I mean, it's lovely to see the next generation of younger people so proud of their mother or their father who have taken a stand, and it's appealing to a nascent sense of justice. Children have a good intuitive feeling of what's right and wrong, and they need to be nurtured in that. And I think that stand as a good role model.
Going back to Fakey Mentor and the fact that you've counselled whistleblowers, obviously they need a sounding board as they, try to actually gather evidence against very powerful people, either in the state or in government or whatever positions that they hold, sometimes even business, right? Did she ever speak to you at some point about how she felt after appearing before the Zondo Commission, and then there were reports, of course, we heard some contradictions there, and there were obviously articles, and she trended on Twitter about those contradictions. How did she feel about some people probably just thinking she might be lying?
Well, I mean, I had a fight with some of my lawyer friends and that who were taking issue with her because I had the privilege of hearing her story, reading her book, and also the experience of seeing what the effect of retaliation has and the traumatic effect of it and the post-traumatic stress disorder that results, and how this leads to an understandable mental health problem or challenge, which is why I've now got involved and said, well, you know, these people have got so much truth to offer. They've got so much to contribute.
Yeah.
And there's an interesting dynamic which happens, which they call the scapegoating mechanism, that we try and find people that aren't perfect, don't have the same kind of look like I do as privilege, who then get made to be, oh, they the problem. And it's a ubiquitous process which has happened throughout human history. And my concern is, how do we ensure that that scapegoating process is deconstructed, that we provide support from the state, from civil society? I'm particularly concerned that faith communities come to the party, because I'm a person of faith myself, because the whistleblowers that I work with have got drawn strength from something that transcends their situation. And I also would love to see the business community not just paying lip service to it. I mean, how about 2 million rands being donated to the South African Institute for Responsible and Accountable Governance? Advocate Taliso Tipanyani. I mean, I've seen these guys. He's left the Human Rights Commission. He set up this institute. We all having to struggle to make ends meet, but the resources that are multiplying amongst the group are non-renewable resources, which are renewable resources, sorry to correct that, which you can't suppress. And that's what's so lovely working with them. You see, and I think whistleblowers in some ways are better off now than 12 months ago when Babita was killed, because we've now realized that there's a life force that you can't kill. It just transcends it. And I just wish those who are focused on finite, corrupting, short-term interests would just get with that program. Money and power are simply not capable of humanizing us in the way that we see happening and need to happen so that our society heals.
And of course, you know, the killings, for instance, and the belittling of whistleblowers also makes those who wanted to probably blow the whistle on something be scared to do so, you know. But talking about that, I mean, if I was a family member of Babita Deokaran, I'd probably want justice to be served, and I'd probably want to do my own investigations, which could also put my own life in danger. So how would you, you know, give advice? What advice would you give to Deokaran's family? Because they're looking at this and they're thinking, gosh, we might not find any closure or justice. The wheels are turning too slowly, and somebody might want to make contact with maybe an employer that she worked with to try and find more information and give it to the police.
Now, obviously that must happen. However, and this is a point to be emphasized, I prefer talking about not so much state capture, but state dismantlement. That's what happened. We've dismantled key institutions of state, and they need to be reassembled, because civil society can only do so much. And we can conscientize people to do their duty and tell the truth, etc., and bear witness. But the state alone has the powers to actually do what needs to be done in terms of changing the law, deploying people that are competent. I have to say, in my experience, paradoxically, I have found that whistleblowers from within state institutions, particularly the South African police services, give me hope. These are ordinary rank-and-file police officers and employees like Patricia Machale, who's in hiding as we speak, because she blew the whistle on corruption in the firearms registry in Bloemfontein. The person that was detailed to investigate this is himself now under internal disciplinary, because he refuses to divulge her location. Because I mean, so we've got a situation where it's not sustainable to have people within the police force, within the SAPs, not being able to have confidence in their leadership. And now that's really a political problem for Becky Cele and the president. Oh,
now you're opening another.
Well, I heard a bit of a General Lebeya have to say.
Well,
he's trying. I always try and give people the benefit of the doubt. I would want to see him partner with whistleblowers instead of participating in the suppression of them.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you very much for speaking to us, Mr. John Clarke. He is a counsellor for whistleblowers. He almost opened a huge can of worms that I'd love to have a conversation with him about sometime later on, not today, but here.